If one were to take a look at the various entities that comprise the world of Feelin' Lucky Punk, odds are very good what was found was incredibly unusual to say the least. A semi-identifiable, apparently random and miscellaneous collection of stuff. They had letters and numbers on them. Maybe those details are important. Who knows? While the identification of all that was around wasn't readily apparent, it definitely was not your standard fare of street thugs, zombies, or mythologically inspired figures. Well, the purpose of this series of videos is to answer why the various individuals that populate this title are the way they are. You may even come to believe that it all makes perfect sense. First, allow me, the developer of Feelin' Lucky Punk, to tell my life story. For the past decade or so, I noticed people of varying degrees of closeness to me were moving away from where I happened to be, as that's where their opportunities took them. They were not moving to different neighborhoods or adjacent cities, they were moving several hundred miles away in most instances. In many cases, completely out of my life. Being the curious individual I was and still am, I decided to look into the phenomenon that was the Rust Belt diaspora. Being that geography is one of my many interests, I was aware people were moving away from the Rust Belt of America for a long time. But I didn't think to look beyond the population numbers until it was impacting me greatly on a personal level. So I did a little research. To make a long story short, a great many of the jobs that were there are no longer, with no suitable replacement. And when people discuss job loss in the Rust Belt, they're talking mostly about the manufacturing and more specifically steel industries. Feelin' Lucky Punk takes place in a parallel universe where an enigmatic woman puts these cities back to work. In this game, the vast majority of cities often mentioned in conversations about the Rust Belt are given a nod. Usually a mechanized robotic one, stamped with either an area code, an airport code, or both. Every single one of these tributes is somehow relevant to the city it is representing. Homages to the city's industrial past, and in some cases present, are preferred, especially if they were known for a specific material or product. But failing that, shoutouts to their name, history, geography, or some other noteworthy aspect was addressed. This is explained in the following series of videos. In what ways the cities were and or are declining is also discussed. How the cities are rusting will be stated in terms most associated with the results of urban decline. The population decline in terms of raw numbers and percents. Food for thought when one considers the U.S. as a whole gains about 1% per year. The unemployment rate, when compared to the already not ideal U.S. average of 7.6%. And the rate of violent crime compared to the U.S. average, again, already high for an industrialized nation. There are other details one can use, like number of vacant lots or gross domestic product, both per capita, but for simplicity and brevity's sake, this is all that needs to be covered for understanding.